Hey guys, this is RC Mechanic here, and today we're going to go over part 3 of the Wraith rebuild. Today we're going to go over the transmission. Now I've already had this apart like several months ago, so I really couldn't remember how it went back together. So I got out my handy dandy manual and I decided to go ahead and just put it together, but just for everybody else, I'm going to take it all apart again, and we'll go through everything, and this time we'll lube it up. Hope you enjoy. Alright, so first we're going to start off with the Wraith is going to get new drive shafts. I'm going to order the MIP rebuild kits for the MIP drive shafts, and I'm going to use that in a different project. But for now, we're going to go with the hot racing. I've been experimenting with these guys, and so far had really good luck, so I'm going to stick with it until something fails. Alright, and so we got new drive shafts. I got a new Spur Gear. This isn't a 48 pitch, this is a 32 pitch, just like what's in the Wraith right now with the AX2 transmission, and I feel it's going to be quite a bit stronger. This is steel, not nylon, so we're going to enjoy that. And then one thing I found, and I got proactive on this because a lot of reviews on the drive shafts was that they didn't come with pins, so I just went ahead and I ordered some axial pins. So, and good thing I did, because it does not come with pins. Don't know why. At least it doesn't look like it comes with pins. Hey, let's take and open it up and look inside. Now the other the axles I bought for my Losi Rock Ray, it had pins, but nope, no pins. So let's make sure before we get going any farther that these axial pins will fit. That would be a real bummer, wouldn't it? Now most of the time a lot of these pins are all the same, so but let's see. Looks like it's almost made. Let's find my driver. Take 2 grub screws instead. Alright, so 2 grub screws on each. So I'm gonna need 8. Looks like I have that pretty much covered. Alright, on these, since it takes the grub screws, I'm definitely gonna Loctite them. I wouldn't, as time's gone on and experience teaching me things that if I don't learn it the first time, I get to learn it again. That on items like the drive shafts, spur gears, pinions, things of that sort that are always turning, I'm learning that you do Loctite them things because they're always under pressure, they're always turning. Unlike, say, a chassis item, which you may not always, but it's always a good idea anyway with your car to go over and tighten everything down anyway, after a few runs. So especially if you have a fast car. So anyway, let's stop with all that and let's get down to it. Here are the old gears right here. This is my main gear, my idler gear, my drive gear. Now in Axial, the only thing that's steel is this drive gear. Don't know why. I mean, really, what would be the cost in just making the other 2 steel too? I mean, this one here's nylon or Delrum, whatever you want to call it, and this one is too. And what happened was I was in some thick brush, and I was trying to do like some sort of like out of the jungle type video, and burnt that bugger right up. So in the meantime, given the option to upgrade, or whether you call it an upgrade or not, I went to a 2-speed transmission. So from RC 4-wheel drive, I went and got their 2-speed transmission, and I put that in, which works awesome. But I want to go ahead and just pull that out. I'm going to use that 2-speed transmission in something else, and I'm going to go back with the original. The only other thing I could do different to make it better would be if I went with like aluminum case, but I'm not feeling I need to do that right now. That, and I'm on a budget, so that's the way it goes. Alright, so now we got this, all that stuff out of the way. Let's go ahead and take this thing apart, and I'll show you how it all comes apart and how it goes back together, and then we'll lube it up and cinch it up and be good to go into the truck. Alright, so use this large driver on these big screws right here. Now these are all loose on purpose, so because I wanted to do this video just as a tutorial, and there's 3 of these larger screws. Alright. Now if you're rebuilding your axial transmission, you may want to, like lay things out in the way they came apart. That makes it a lot easier for putting it back together, which is what I'm going to do right now. So we have the motor plate right here. Lay it up here. We have the backing plate for the spur gear right here. Lay that right here. So from left to right, and then we have the spacer right here. Right? I'm going to pop this screw out of here. Now there's only like 4 screws you really have to take apart. So, and now we have just this little one right here. So we'll go ahead and take that out. Alright, so you got 4. Now we can just crack that case open like that, and there you are. Now on this drive gear right here, there's a pin. You can see that pin. Not sure. Come on. This pin is a different size from your wheel pins, so don't confuse that with that, okay? Now I've already put in all the new bearings on this, so don't have to worry about that. And here's your idler gear right here. It's so new that everything just falls out of it. Okay, now this is all steel. This is all made from hot racing as well. And that is this hardened gear set I bought right here. If the camera can focus on it. Maybe not, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, like I said, hot racing's been working really well right now for me, and they do make a lot of parts for a lot of vehicles. So pretty much what I'm finding is that any of the I guess you call them, I don't know, I wouldn't want to call it like oddball, but like the low-C stuff and things that are different, hot racing seems to have the parts for it. All right, so here's your drive gear, not drive gear. What do they call this gear? It probably tells me in this darn book. It don't. Anyway, the large gear right here, that gear, the only way you could get any better than that would be to have this all be like one solid piece. Right now I screwed it together like it was originally. It's just that this is a steel gear. I like to use, what I like to use, because I don't have always what some other people have, is this disc brake grease, which seems to work really well so far. Anyway, I'm not a big fan of marine grease because it's just too thick and too much resistance. Alright, so that's probably too much, but it is what it is. So we'll go ahead and slip this here back in. Like I said, it's probably too much, but there's a cavity down in there that probably could use something in there to help protect it. Alright, so it's a little bit more on here. We'll put our idler gear in. Okay. And then we have our drive gear. So I've already got some grease up in there. Now, in most cases I would go ahead and put my chain lube in as well, but I'm not going to right now because, well, there isn't a whole lot of room in here. So I'm not going to. And I most likely put too much grease in there already. So, alright. And I'll find that out as soon as I run it, because if I did, well, it'll start oozing out. It's okay, cause, you know, I can handle that. So we'll go ahead and just slide this back together again. Let me turn some things as we go. So something is holding up, so we got to pull it apart, find out what it is. And the cross pin came out of the gear notch. There we go. So let's try that again. Remember, if something don't go together right, there's probably a good reason. If you force it, it just won't work. Alright, so there we are. Okay. Now wipe off most of the grease. Anyway, and so now we just go ahead and we put our spacer back on, like that. And try to remember how this goes on. Alright, so there we are. Okay, so then we put the motor plate up there. It all fits together like a puzzle. And like all puzzles, if it doesn't fit right, whoops, see, you gotta flip that over. Don't force it. Okay. Alright, so we got it mostly together, and now we just got to put these longer, bigger screws in. I got one started. Okay. Alright, get those all together, and then we just have this one left right here. Different size. Okay, and that's it. And right now it's like butter. Spinning nice and free, has all new bearings in it. And there you are. Okay, so next will be the slipper clutch and spur gear. Working with all these little parts, the tweezers can be your best friend. Okay, so catch that or not. Okay, the pin is in. Okay, now that the pin is in, now I can go ahead. Here's got the slipper clutch assembly right here. Okay, that's all together. Now, now it's time to go ahead and put the spur gear on. That's right here. Find my handy dandy knife. Alright, so now we just put this on, and there's no bearing in here, even though Fast Eddie, I'm ending up with like 3 extras. But this does sit down on the slipper clutch assembly just like that. All we gotta do, just line up these holes, grab these. Well, let's see, let's put a bolt on the driver first. Alright, so slipper clutch assembly and spur gears right here. Now I don't know if I mentioned, but this is a 56 tooth steel spur gear, 32 pitch. So I got that one started, so all the other holes will line up now. But on the other two, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put just a dab of Loctite on them, and I'll pull that one out that I just put in and Loctite that. So I just put the one bolt in, or screw, to get things lined up. Now we stick this one in. And I can take this one out now. Go ahead and put Loctite on it. Okay. If you haven't used your Loctite for a while, make sure to shake it. And I forgot to do that. That's what that was. Okay. So when you use Loctite, you don't have to go ahead and really torque down these screws. And that's one thing I've been talking about in all my videos, is not to over tighten. But really, it's really hard to not. I mean, especially when you're used to working on you know, nuts and bolts that are like 8 to 10 times bigger than these, right? So it's really hard to work on that finesse part, which is probably why I stripped out the screws on the MIP drive shafts. And it's most likely the reason why most people do. Alright, so now we got this all on. Now we need to go ahead, put our washers on. Sorry, I'm going to put one on the back side. I'm going to put 1, 2 right here. Go ahead and get this nut started. Okay. Now, since I've decided to stick with the brushless system, I'm going to, right up off the bat, torque this basically all the way down. Okay? So, anywhere then we'll create a gap in this spring, and then if I get anywhere and I need to retighten it, I can. But with the amount of torque that's running through that motor, with the 4,000 kV, it's pretty much necessary. Alright, so transmission is done, and it's nice and smooth. I love it. So now all I just got to do is take the old transmission out of the Wraith and put this one in. Alright, so I have the old transmission out. Here's the old one, and the only problem I really had with this is, and the reason why I'm changing it, is because there's a tremendous amount of slop between forward and backward on this thing. I mean, there's one direction, I mean, a third of a turn. So I'm thinking there's something wrong with this, so that's the biggest reason why I'm changing this. Going back to the original transmission, everything is nice and tight. Gear mesh is set, and that's right. I also have the hot racing drive lines on, and I also installed the hot racing links, which have hot racing all over them, except for one I'm going to show you. Anyway, the hot racing links are on. Just a matter of putting it into the truck. Alright, so as far as putting it into the truck, I'm waiting on one more part, and that's something for the next video. And as you can see on this, there's no servo mount, so there's a clue as to what's going on next time. If you want to know what's going on next time, want to see and watch and see what's going to happen, just tune in. If you liked what you saw today, smash that like button, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on RC Mechanic. This is Kelly saying goodbye.